Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Can you guys can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, let's see. It says we can't connect to your webcam. You may be using it in another application. I'm going to get out of this meeting and I will come back. Let me see what I'm doing. Good morning. Let's try it that way. Can you hear me? Hi, RJ.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Vaughn, what's up, dude?
Guys, how you doing?
Got my coffee.
So nice to see everybody's faces. I love it.
Hi, Joy.
Good morning. This might be the best part of this whole week.
Might be.
Yeah.
Seeing Bill and Vaughn was the highlight of my week.
We go to the same barber.
Ryan, you see the picture? Ryan, that's just for you.
Picture where? Get out of here. Get out of here.
Uh-huh.
No one wants you here.
Yes.
Want to come over and give me a haircut? I feel like I need to.
We actually just ordered clippers. I think we're gonna attempt to do a homemade haircut here in the next week or so.
One thing I don't have to worry about.
Oh,
this is Fawn joining you by phone.
Hi, Miss Fawn.
Excellent.
Fine.
Hello. And no, I'm not doing a homemade haircut.
I convinced my wife, and she won't do it. She won't go for it.
Right, I don't know if I would what you would look like with no hair. It's kind of funny.
Well, I guess I
Everybody
don't
is
check. I don't know if I need to check in. This is Sherry Massaro from admissions by phone.
All right.
Hi, Sherry.
And
Hey, my password wouldn't work. I did the whole thing to the Cisco WebEx meeting, but this password wouldn't work.
It took me to try, Sherry.
Mine wouldn't.
Case sensitive.
Mine wouldn't work. Yeah, I think I kept getting the cases mixed up, so I'm still trying.
Okay.
Used the link on the website and it took me straight to it.
Hi, friends. We are going to get started today with a video. This
Thank
video
you.
is more calming. So I want you to, because it's one of our Zendesk videos, and get started.
Okay.
Shout out to Marielle, whose eyes are on the screen.
I can't hear you, I'm sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
So if you all can mute your background, I can't hear any background noise, that would be great. Also, I would like to point out that we are taking any comments, any questions. If you want to enter any questions on the side chat board, I'll be checking that throughout this meeting, so please do so. This is welcome to the Division of Student Experience Coffee Hour. The goal of this weekly coffee hour is to provide a space for faculty and staff to gain valuable resources while touching bases with staff on campus. Today's topic is working remotely and tech hacks. Our panelists, if you guys would please introduce yourself, your name, your position, the department you work in, as well as a little summary of what you do in your department. RJ, do you mind
I can
starting?
start. Yeah. So RJ Markowitz, coordinator of Adventure Recreation, Campus Rec. All of our outdoor programs, manage the climbing wall, all of our CPR programs, risk management for the department, team building programs, jack of all trades, you name it. A little bit about me.
Thank you, RJ. I will pass it over to Michael Cardwell.
Hey everybody, I'm Michael Cardwell. I'm Assistant Director of Retail Operations for Kokoly Center. So what I do on campus is I run Peace Trees. Peace Trees is no longer open right now. I also run the card office, which you guys know is Penguin Crossing with the IDs. And then I very heavily assist Chartwells in their operations. So I don't know if any of you guys know this, but all the point of sale equipment on campus that they, like the registers and stuff, those are all owned by the university. So we manage those. So I am heavily involved in managing those as well. And that's what I do here on campus.
Thank you, Mike. Joe D'Amico.
All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Bill D'Amico. I'm the interim associate director in the Office of Admissions here at Youngstown State. I'm also a Libra. I was born in the year of the crab, or no, the year of the rat, I think it was. More seriously, I supervise a couple of our assistant directors, a couple of the ladies up front. I have 2 graduate assistants, an intern right now. Within the office, my role is I manage a recruitment territory. I have 18 counties in Western Pennsylvania that I recruit. I manage all of our electronic communications, so all the email campaigns that we do to prospective students for our visit events, just getting them to apply, all that stuff. I do the text messaging campaigns. I'm also kind of like the tech guy in the office, so I do everything, all the Survey Gizmo work. I run all of our assessments. I create all of our presentations. I help troubleshoot a lot of different things going on in the office. So kind of a jack of all trades, like RJ said.
Sounds good. I apologize. I failed to introduce myself. My name is Danielle Adair. I am the operations manager for Kilcawley Center. I run the day-to-day operations as far as helping out with reservations. I oversee the Cove as well as managing our student employees. So we're going to get started with RJ. Can you give us some information about working remotely and tech hacks?
Yeah, sure. So I kind of broke my little presentation down here into 4 different categories, excuse me, that I'm going to be touching base on. Working with loved ones, your routine, your space, and some technology. So first of all, I don't have any children that I have the privilege to be coworkers with during this time. But I do have a fiance that I live with that is also working from home too. So I guess the first thing about working with loved ones, we found out quickly that the first week was hard. We actually had my sister come in from out of town as well, and my dad is in the Stone Age, didn't have Wi-Fi, so not only were we trying to figure out our own routine, my sister was working from our house as well. So the first week was a little bit difficult, and we had to set some boundaries. So kind of after the first week where we figured everything out, we talked about like what our spaces look like. We talked about what our schedules are, what time we're getting up, going to meetings, how we can kind of tell one another that we're in meetings, we're on phone calls, and we kind of had to get used to one another's schedules. So a little bit of a tip that I can provide those with like young ones running around. My undergrad was in middle childhood education. So I think one of the things that I took away there is the importance of classroom rules. And when you establish classroom rules with your crew that is working with you, you bring them into the conversation. If they have some buy-in with the rules, they're more likely to follow it. So saying, okay, what do you think an appropriate amount of break time is going to be? What time do you want to have lunch? What time should we stop and have a snack? What time can I help you with your questions? So bringing little ones into the conversation about the rules of work from home could be definitely a helpful tip. So in theory, like I said, don't have any kids. I don't know, that could be completely wrong, but in theory, bringing them into creating the rules from work from home might be a little bit helpful. Share your routine with family members who are on the same page. So every day we kind of, my fiance and I will give each other a rundown of what types of meetings we have going on. To be talking, are we going to be talking loud? Are we going to be out walking around the house? And we kind of give each other a briefing each morning so we know, what's an appropriate time to get up or make noise or whatever, and what's not an appropriate time to where I should kind of lock myself in the spare bedroom. So just kind of sharing that. And then, like I said before, with like lunch and dinner and snacks, we kind of try to keep to the same schedule, and it makes things a lot easier for both of us. So that's kind of a little bit about my experience working with loved ones. Like I said, the first week it was a lot to adjust to, and then as weeks went by, we kind of seemed to get into a pretty good groove to where we're not in each other's hair as much. The next thing that I'm going to touch base on is routine, and kind of a good transition into this. It didn't come instantly. This was one of those things, and I think it's still coming. Just last week, one of the things I realized, it was a lot easier for me to knock a bunch of projects out when the sun wasn't shining. So the fresh air was like tempting me outside. I kept wanting to go out and do things. So I took 3 or 4 hours, checked in with my supervisor, and made sure that it's okay for me to work from like 7 to 10 o'clock. Once I didn't have to compete with the beautiful sunshine, and it's worked out well. I've found that I'm pretty productive first thing in the morning and kind of right before I'm winding down. So kind of figure out what hours are the most productive for you and what hours are the least productive for you. I think that kind of helps out a lot. But like I said, making sure that you're checking in with your supervisors, and obviously you're not going to do that if you have meetings and things right in the middle of the day. But checking in with your supervisors and making sure, hey, if I work from, about 9 to noon, and then again from, 5 or 6 to whatever, is that okay? Another thing with routine is I try to keep a similar routine that I did at work. So a lot of times I would bring my breakfast to work. I would have my cup of coffee, and that's how I would check my email. So that's something that I know every day. Walked in, had my breakfast ready, had my coffee, and that's how I check my email. So first thing, I always have my cup of coffee now. I'm checking those emails. I'm keeping that same routine that I did at work, and it makes things easier. It doesn't seem as foreign to me if I could keep these things very similar. Another thing about the routine is establishing communication guidelines with supervisors. I think it's really important to make sure that they're on the same page with how to communicate with you as you are with them. You're not going to be texting your supervisor or whatever 11, 12 o'clock at night just because you decided that it's easier for you to work. Your routine warrants that. Checking with them, what time do you think that you're going to be working? Here's what time I want to touch base with you. Is it okay if I give you a phone call between this time and this time? In times like these, over communication, everything that I've looked up, all the webinars that I've kind of been hearing from, it's better to over communicate than it is to under communicate here. I think we're so used to just dropping in on each other that communication tends to fall to the wayside when you can't just walk in on somebody else's office. The next part about the routine is the commute. We're all used to a commute, whether that's 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever it might be. So figuring out what your commute is, I found that or surfing the web a little bit is my commute. So before I start work, I might throw on my headphones and listen to a little bit of music, listen to a podcast, and the same thing as I'm winding down. It's just a good physical indicator that the day is starting or the day is ending. Good time to, kind of leave whatever is at work, get ready for that transition in your day. And then the last thing with routine is, just like work, we have our good days and we have our bad days. There's some days where I'm super productive and I'm getting things done, doing great. And there's other days where I feel a little bit distracted. And I think that's completely normal. I think we have to recognize when we're at work, the same thing happens. Really good days, we have really productive days. And then there are days that are just not there. So you have to give yourself that little bit of leeway when you are at home. Moving on to my actual physical space, this took that week of transition as well, because my physical space was Monday, it was at the kitchen table, Tuesday was at the couch, Wednesday I got frustrated and went down to my basement and did work from my basement. And over the weekend we said, no, something has to change. So we had to have a spare bedroom. So we were able to actually rearrange our spare bedroom so that my fiance works up in our living room and I work in our spare bedroom. We kind of pushed some furniture aside. I made a little corner desk and really made that my own. So I have kind of my space to work at, and she has her space to work at. And we kind of leave these spaces as our workspaces. So just like with the commute, you're signaling that it's the end of your work and the beginning of your relaxation time. In our workspaces during time that we're not working. You know, just like you're not running in your office to watch TV, you're not, you know, at work, you're not coming in your office or coming in your workspace to hang out and talk. This is a space for working. So if you're fortunate enough to do that, it's something that I would highly recommend. It made things a little bit easier for us. One system that we use is we both made sure that our workspaces, again, if you're fortunate enough, have doors on them. If our doors are open, we could talk a little bit, or we can with one another. But we know if the doors are closed to our specific workspaces, that we're not really going in there and you know, conversing with one another. We know we're going to try to get some business done. You know, this is kind of our time to concentrate. Another thing, as you'll notice, kind of behind me, I have my window. There are two windows in this room facing the wall. It's good to have, you know, natural light coming through. That's great for everyone, but you want to make sure that you're not in a distracting space, if at all possible. So if I was facing the window, I think I would be doing a lot of staring right out the window, but I have my natural light. If I want to take a break, if I want to look out the window, I could go ahead and do that. But I'm not staring out the window constantly. So making sure that the space is set up to where you're efficiently using it. And each week too, I kind of just take the last 15 minutes or so to kind of reflect on my week and see, hey, what could I have done better? What could I change? What can I do to make sure that you know, my next week is productive, and is the arrangement, is the space that I'm using right now a productive space? And the last piece that I have that I want to touch base on, as I am mindful of time of our other panelists here, is the technology pieces. I found after the first week again that I needed a keyboard and a mouse. I was trying to work from my laptop. I have big fat chunky fingers, and my laptop's keys don't get along well with my fingers. So I found a keyboard laying around my house, and from an old computer. So I hooked that up. I bought myself a wireless mouse. And worked out well. So I'm not having to use my laptop as a keyboard and as a mouse. You can find these for about 20 to 30 bucks online if that's something that you're willing to invest in. Made my life a little bit easier. Okay, the next thing, and this isn't something that I necessarily bought, but I listened to or I use a little bit more now, is a lot of us have smartwatches. Our smartwatches get up and move around. And I think that's really important to utilize your smartwatches right now and listen to those. You know, we're not bound to be in front of our computers for that full, 8 hours a day. We still need to take those breaks. We still need to get up and walk around. I've noticed at the rec when I'm actually there, I am walking around a lot more than I am here. So I'll listen to my smartwatch now. I get up, I move around, I do a stretch, I do an exercise. It kind of keeps me active. It keeps me a little less stagnant than I think I've been. So using and utilizing my smartwatch is super important. Another super important piece is getting a pair of headphones, with a microphone, especially if you do have kids running around. It noise cancels, so it's actively listening for noise, and then it actually runs interference. So if you have noise canceling headphones, it pretty much gets you in isolation, especially if you have those roommates and folks that are making a little bit of noise. So these are an awesome investment. And then last but not least, I upgraded my Spotify. So those of you that don't know, Spotify is a music streaming service. I updated it to the premium account. A really cool thing about Spotify Premium, you don't have any commercials, and you have access to some really great instrumental channels. I found that when I'm working, if I have a little bit of instrumental music playing in the background, it kind of helps me go through. Someone's phone's ringing.
Sorry.
It kind of helps me go. No, you're good. It kind of helps me go through the day with, a little bit more focus. If I have any Spotify folks out there, what I've been listening to channels at work are lo-fi beats and instrumental jazz. So write those down. Definitely an awesome technology upgrade. And that's really all I have. I've been trying to keep track of the chat and looking at some of those comments and questions. That was hard for me to kind of like multitask and keep up there. So if you have any questions, I think I have, are we doing questions at the end, Danielle?
Yes, we'll be doing questions at the end. So if you guys do not mind heading into the chat box, any questions, comments, concerns that you would like to share, as well as please mute your background noise so that we can hear the panelists. Next, we have up Michael Cartwell.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Got my background here, my little helpers. I don't know if you all can see that. So, share my workspace. I do have a dual screen here. That's where I'm able to work most productive. I do have a wireless keyboard and mouse. I sort of had this at my workstation at work, and I wanted to sort of recreate that. My space, we just sort of took a breakdown table, and I put it in our bedroom and like a corner window, and we just sort of created a workspace here. We're not working at night, so basically we're in our bedroom to sleep at night, so it hasn't been any issue. As RJ was saying, my wife works part-time, and I'm working full-time, so it is hard to sort of manage that in between where we're both working. But it's been pretty easy. We do debrief in the morning, and her calendar is shared with my Office 360 calendar, so I'm able to go and just look and see, okay, well, what's the day look like? But we do, communicate and let each other know, when she has some kind of meeting, and then we'll switch off with the kids. Like I'll go and watch the kids while she has stuff to do. And, just keeping that communication line open between each other is really important, because, if you're not communicating and I don't know if she needs to get something done, we can't switch or make sure that we're able to get everything that we need to get done. So I utilize Office 365 in my daily life. I don't know if everybody else does. Like, this is sort of look at what my calendar is. Like, the pink is all my wife's calendar stuff, and the blue is all me. And then I use tasks a lot. I don't know if anybody's used tasks. So if you're in your Outlook, if you look here on your day, there's this little, like, a calendar and a checkbox. You can see, like, there's things that I need to make sure I get done. I use this almost as like people use a notebook. I use technology instead. And then you can actually see your calendar real quick right here as well. And then, you can full flesh go into tasks and add things and add, due dates. You can add reminders. It's really great. So, go away here. I also utilize a lot of the things I do daily. Like every Monday morning, since this whole new work from home is new for us, I've been keeping a daily journal. So basically, I think every Monday morning, I'm I'm supposed to send John Young, my boss, my journal of what I've been doing from work from home. I don't know if anybody else has had to do that, but that's what we're doing in Kilcolly Center in our division. So I actually created a workflow that will automate that process for me. So basically, I keep all my files in OneDrive. So basically, what this tells that to do is to go pick up that file, my daily journal, and it says take it and put it in an email and send it to John on Monday mornings at 9 a.m. so that John always gets my daily work from home journal 9 a.m. every day, every Monday morning. So that's just something I don't have to worry about because I've utilized technology to take care of that for me. Let me know if you get that on Monday morning, John, at 9 a.m. Thanks. So also, let's see, so something new for me, I manage what's like 16 students. So I have my group of students in Penguin Crossing and I have my group of students in Peach Streets. And, we've sort of been tasked to give them some work from home tasks. So, I was sort of fishing around in Office 365 and I found this thing called Teams. And then inside of Teams, there's this, so I'll go back here. Inside of Teams, I have my two groups here, my Peach Streets and my Penguin Crossing. So I kind of use Penguin Crossing as my example. There's this, it's called Planner. So I added that to my Teams and embed here. So what I did was actually I give them tasks in here to complete for their hours of work for the pay period. So I'm able to give them items to do. So for instance, right now I think as we go into orientation season, orientation is going to be virtual this time around. So I've been trying to figure out how to get a video of how students, what the proper way is to submit a selfie for your photo ID for campus, because, none of these students are going to be coming to campus, during orientation. So we still need to figure out how to get a photo for all these students. So I've tasked them to go on other universities' websites that are already doing this process. And so we can try to create a video to make sure that we're being as efficient as we can and making sure that the photos are proper. So also we're getting some new to go and look at some training videos. It's just something that I've never really had to do in this form or fashion. And I think that this platform is nice because, it's very clear to them what they need to accomplish. They need to go on and look at these videos and then check off that they've done each video under this URL. So I think that's very clear. They can go on there and complete their video. If they need to turn an assignment, I have a place for them to go and do that on OneDrive on the Teams app. So, and then also I have a chat on Teams with them to keep the communication line open. Make sure that we're, I'm here for them. If they have any questions, if they need anything, they can reach out to me right here on Teams. And, I can see when, and also if there's an announcement I need to make, I can also chat with them on Teams rather than texting them. And I can see when all 8 of them have seen it, which is really nice. I know that they've read it and I know that they understand. And if I saw that somebody didn't see it and it's been a couple of days, I kind of check in with them. I text them and say, hey, is everything okay? I noticed that you haven't been in Teams in a while to see this message that I feel is important. How are you doing? So we're also doing I think later this day, I'm doing basically a discussion quite like this, a roundtable discussion with my 2 groups of students. to just make sure that their online classes are going well, and make sure that, they're still on their same career path, and they haven't gotten discouraged from doing online classes, and make sure I'm answering any questions that they have. And if I don't know the answers, I'm going to try and figure out what those are and make sure they get the help that they need to succeed. Not only working from home right now, as far as what we're doing for Coe Colley Center and their work from home, but also in the classroom and their online classroom pieces. This is starting to become our new normal, at least for right now. And we're just trying to make sure, our students are getting used to it and that we're all on the same page. I think that's all I had to share, at least for right now. Appreciate it. Let's see how to put on share. Oh, there we go. All right.
Michael, you do have there from Joy.
Challenges with students using Teams. I think I texted all of them and basically said I recommend that you download this app on your phone. If you don't have a PC, if you have a computer, that's great to check in with. A lot of them, I think, find it very useful. I think even within our own subset of, in Coe Colley Center, we were using Cisco for our weekly meetings, and we started using Teams. I think it keeps track of your conversations better. You can go back and look at, okay, well, what did we talk about in that? And it keeps track of all your, if you have a group set up in Microsoft 365, which we do for our operations team, me, Vaughn, John, and Kathy, we can all go in there and communicate and do whatever we need to do, which is really nice.
And Michael, just to add to that, it's Vaughn real quick. With the Microsoft Teams, with the students learning how to use it, on that LinkedIn Learning, there's actually a great training video on Microsoft Teams. I actually used it myself, and it was great just to show you the ins and out and little shortcuts and whatnot in Microsoft Teams. So use that LinkedIn Learning website for a tutorial on Microsoft Teams. It will definitely help you out.
Okay. Thank you. We'll save any other questions for the end because I want to allow enough time for Bill D'Amico to give his bill. So if you have any questions, please continue to write in the chat box, and we will answer those questions with the last 15 minutes of this roundtable. Bill?
All right. Good morning, everyone. I don't know if you can tell by my background, but I am actually not working remotely. There's two of us that are actually working in the Office of Admissions right now. And the reason being is that there's a lot of things that we can't do remotely. For example, when students are trying to complete their applications, they're still physically mailing in documents. And while a lot of our phones for the individual offices are being forwarded to work cell phones that the recruiters have out there, we still have a very active 2000 line, which is our main admissions line, the 1-800 number. So between Chrissy and myself, we're both here full time. We're doing all of that, managing the office and supervising staff that are remotely. But I will be honest with you, this has been really interesting for me just to kind of hear of the dynamic of working at home. When this all went down, I was kind of wondering what would it be like to work at home. And I think that you all have really kind of shown what that's like. I think there's days where I would like to work at home, but there's also a sense of normalcy that I have being in the office as well. So I think there's pros and cons to both. But I do know that in this state, we're really learning a lot about how to work remotely. So I just think it's very interesting times. So because I'm not working remotely, I'm going to talk more about the tech hacks that we're using to keep our office running. So the first thing I'm going to do is share my screen here. And I want to mention, let's see here. Okay. So there's some challenges with supervising people that are working remotely. And, obviously we're doing a lot of daily correspondence in our office, doing a lot of WebEx meetings, a lot of cell phone calls, a lot of texting. ton of emailing and things like that. But you know, you still want to keep accountability and stuff like that. So working with our staff remotely, we've been using a lot of the stuff that you can find in Google. So I want to show you, and some of you may be familiar with how Google Drive works. But for the accountability piece, you know, with our processors continuing to process applications, the data entry we're doing, the call campaigns we're doing, there's a lot of different ways you can do that. We have what's called a CRM, a customer relationship management tool, and we can track a lot of the stuff there. But there's a lot of collaborative things that you can do through Google. And really, you only need to have one person have a Google account to allow this to work. So I'm just going to kind of show you some of the things that we're doing right now. So first thing I want to talk about, RJ mentioned, and actually Michael mentioned it, the diary being sent out to the supervisors. So we actually created a daily log. I'm going to show you what this actually looks like. So each day, the people that are working remotely will actually complete this daily log. So you can see they'll put in the date. I created a drop down so all of our staff members have their name in there. They'll select their work group. And then similar to a diary, we're having them outline the tasks that they're working on in AM and PM shifts. And so the nice thing about this is it actually goes into a back end for us where we can catalog all the results. So they drop in here, you can see when it was submitted, you can see the name right here, and then you can see what they're doing. So for us, it really helps. We can check in day, you know, each day and kind of get an idea of what everybody's doing. So we found this to be really, really helpful. And just sending reports to our superiors, it really kind of streamlines that process. Another thing that's really cool, and so that's actually, let me go back here. That was created with using Google Docs and actually creating a Google form. So that submission form was a form and it actually drops into the Google Docs. But I also want to show you Google Sheets. Google Sheets are similar to Excel. And I know we're all familiar with working with Excel. And some of you may have Department K drives and shared drives and stuff like that. But what's annoying with using those is how many of you have been working in an Excel form and it'll say that it's locked because somebody else is in it and you can't edit it? The nice thing about using Google Sheets is they're real time. So I'm just going to give you an example here. We had our processors making a missing credential list calls. So what we did is we preloaded a list of students here that we wanted them to contact. And in real time, you can see them working in this. So you can have like 10 different people logged into this sheet. As a matter of fact, if you look right now, you can see there's 3 people in this sheet that are working this list. So they'll know who they're working on. We can see who they're working on. I created drop downs where they can list who actually made the call, the date of the call result, which will go into our CRM. So it's really nice because this way you can collaborate with one another through Google and everybody knows what they're doing. You can go in here, you can see who made the calls. So by using Google Sheets, and there's so many applications that you can use for this. So we use it for some of the calls that we're making. I've used it with our graduate assistants. Right now, we're actually doing interviews for new GA positions. So as they roll in, I can actually put the new names that need reviewed in there. I can add new documents. It's been really, really great. So I wanted to mention Google Docs and Google Drive in general. Again, you don't need to have a Google account. One person can set it up. You can send out let me show you this real quick. Basically what you do is you send out a shareable link. So let's see, if I wanted to share this, I would just go to share and I would send this link to anybody who I want to edit it. I can make it so they can only comment. I can make it so they can only view it. So you can do a lot with these. And going back to this as well, within there, there's a bunch of other things that you can do. You can do drawings, maps. There's a bunch of other stuff. And the nice thing is it's all working in real time. So you don't have to have everybody saving Excel sheets and then sending it to one person to put it back together. It's a big collaborative. So I wanted to mention that. The other thing I wanted to mention is that, not allowing students to be on campus and stuff like that, or prospective students, it's really thrown a lot of the stuff that we do upside down. All the prospective students that plan to come to visit, our daily information sessions and things like that, we've had to rethink all of that stuff. And so we have been relying very heavily on WebEx. But if you think back to some of our events like our Penguin Preview Days, our Experience Y Days, those are large groups. So instead of just using regular WebEx talks, we are using WebEx events. And the difference is with a WebEx event, you can require people to sign in. So you can have people register when they attend the session, so you'll know who's in there. You can do polling. There's not a limit. So I know that the capacity for a regular WebEx meeting, they say around 25. I guess you can have up to 100. With WebEx events, you can have up to 3,000 participants in these things. So they're designed for larger groups. So that's something that we've really been working on. You can have multiple presenters. You can switch people around. You can take people that are just actually attendees and have them present. So there's a lot of different functions there. We're about to start rolling those out now. We are doing a variety of virtual Experience Y Days coming up starting next Monday. So STEM is kicking us off. And we're trying a bunch of different formats with that. So there will be a learning curve, but it's going to be really exciting to see how we can start doing this stuff a little bit more virtually. Another thing I want to mention is I'm going to share, let's see, if you go to our visit.ysu.edu page, oops. We have a whole virtual visit session set up, whole virtual visit section set up right now. So a couple of things we're doing is, and obviously we've been advertising this a lot, but we are doing individual virtual appointments with people. So if they click this schedule virtual appointment, it actually brings them to a sheet where they can actually select their status and submit a form where we will meet with them through a WebEx. I also want to give a shout out to the Penguin Service Center. They're doing these, let me go to that real quick. Penguin Service Center actually has like a virtual counseling thing where you can click on a button there and it will automatically connect you with somebody, and I believe it's Tysa right now. That is, she must have her WebEx open all day and they can just pop in and do sessions. So that's something that we're considering doing as well. The only downside of that is you have to have somebody on there all day just waiting for people to jump in. But I thought that was really cool. The other thing I want to talk about is we have pre-recorded daily information session videos that are out there. So usually we would meet with people twice a day, Monday through Friday, and do virtual sessions. We have a recorded session out there. We have our recorded campus walking tour video, and then we have recorded residence hall video. So we've just really had to rethink all the student experience and try to recreate that the best that we can. The last thing I want to talk about in kind of us working more remotely and still obviously making sure we're meeting students where they're at is we have a live chat function, and you could all add this to your webpage as well. So we have this monitored from 10 a.m. until 10 p.m. Monday through Friday, and then from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturday and Sunday. So if you want to chat, let me move this. If you want to chat with anybody, you would just simply submit some basic information, and we have people monitoring that. So that's another way that we've kind of put ourselves out there to work with the students. So I'm trying to think, did I cover everything I wanted to here? I have. I mean, moving forward, since there's, you know, all the classes in the summer are online, we're also going to be doing our Penguin Preview Day electronically as well. So, you know, I think these hurdles are good. I think it's moving a lot of us kind of out of our comfort zone and really making us rethink the way we connect with students. And even when things go back to normal, I think we'll keep a lot of these implementations, and it'll just, again, really help us reach students where they're at and just help to move us forward. So I think that's pretty much everything I had. Let me unshare my screen here so I can actually see. Are there any questions?
We did have, can you hear me?
Yes.
So we did have 2 questions for any of the panelists. How's everyone working through screen and technology fatigue? Anyone of the panelists, or if anyone wants to jump in, please do so at this time.
I can take that. So what I've been doing again with the watch is just getting up and moving around a little bit every time my watch lets me know to get up and start moving. The other thing is putting in scheduled breaks. I was watching a webinar about working from home, and they said to actually I think it's like 90 minutes, every 90 minutes, make sure that you have like a 10-minute break to get up, walk around, to go outside. I think that's one of the best ways to do it is intentionally scheduling this. I think a lot of us with our positions right now, our positions back on campus, we would be up moving, at least every 30 minutes or so. So intentionally scheduling time to get up and move away. That's one way that I'm doing it.
Anyone else would like to provide any feedback on that question?
I don't know about fatigue, but I will say it's just not the same not being able to see people face to face. I'm getting kind of WebEx meeting fatigues. I know it's really all we can do right now, but I really miss seeing everyone. And while these videos help us collaborate, it's not the same. I feel like it's a lot harder to supervise through a camera and a webcam, and I really do miss that personal, connection that I'm able to make with everybody. So I'm definitely getting fatigued with a lot of these different meetings. I'm really hoping we can go back to, normalcy here soon.
Thank you, Bill. Actually, Carwell had a question for you. What happens to the information in Google Drive when someone leaves the university?
What do you mean? Like, will the person still have access to the Google Drive? Is that what you're asking?
Michael?
Yeah, sorry to put you on the spot for that. I just am curious, so are those personal accounts or those university accounts or?
I created the Google Sheets. You don't need to have a Google account to actually use Google Sheets or Google Docs or any of that stuff. Like the daily, when they're submitting what their work log is, they don't need to know. It's almost like a survey. But as far as Sheets goes, I can delete that anytime. I can remove permissions. I can make it private again. So you don't have to really worry about that. I wouldn't put social security numbers and stuff on there. I mean, you got to be careful with that. It is in the cloud. But as far as like adding and removing permissions, if you decide, like if somebody ends up leaving and you don't want them to have access to that particular, and by the way, on that sheet, they only have access to one of the sheets. They don't have access to my entire account. So they're only able to see what I give them permission to.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I just, I think we've used the Google Drive. I think it's very similar, or the OneDrive. It's very similar to Google Drive, and it has the same capabilities in the Excel to share the documents and stuff and work collaboratively. You can be in it with somebody at the same time, and then it's all university-owned material. So I just want to share that, I guess.
Yeah, I'll have to look into OneDrive. That I've started working with Ross a little bit. He uses OneDrive a lot, so I'll have to look a little bit more into that. And I don't know the pros and cons of both.
Yeah, I mean, it's an amazing suite that we have. I mean, all the options and stuff in there are just so great. So I can't say enough good about it. I mean, I like Google too, but I feel like a lot of that that they built in Google has shifted over to Microsoft Office 365, and it's all of it is there and more. So I just thought I'd share that.
Thank you, guys. Would anyone else like to share any, how do you find a healthy work-life balance, and how do you avoid overworking while at home? Anyone would like to chime in? Joy, Aaron, Vaughn?
So honestly, I'm struggling a little bit, but my lifesaver has been my treadmill. And so as long as I hit the treadmill in the morning, my day is completely different. But if I miss it in the morning, I'm not as nice to be around, I'll be honest. And that separation. So I do really agree with what RJ was talking about is don't go into the rooms if you're not working. So on the weekends, I try to avoid the office that I'm working in this today, or my basement when I can't, because that really helps me to separate that's work world and this is my
Yeah, and I with Joy, she said the treadmill is her savior. Nature's been my savior. Get outside if it's a nice day. Walk around your house. Walk around your neighborhood. Go to a park if you can. Obviously, maintain the social distance, but getting outside in the sun is huge for me.
We do not have any other comments, questions, concerns. If you have any ideas on future topics, please email me. Let me share my screen.
There were two other questions on there. Kathy Leeper asked, can student experience participate in the new virtual Penguin Preview Day? I mean, absolutely. We don't know what that program is going to look like right now. We're just kind of trying to stay afloat at the moment with a bunch of stuff going on, but we'll be planning that here soon. So we'll be in contact on that. Ryan asked, did you set up the chat feature on your website? I worked with Ross Marone. And actually, real quick, let me share my screen one more time as I want to show this. This is what the back end of it looks like. So basically what happens is you have a dashboard, and I'll be honest with you, there's quirks. This is a free software. I'm sure there's ways it could be more user friendly, but basically you get your whole all your different chats come in here. If there was one going on right now, you'd actually see it on the screen, but you get transcribed. You get a transcript of everything that they talked about in here too. So it's really nice. And as a supervisor, you can have multiple people in here. You can assign multiple people to different chats. So it is pretty cool. If you're interested, I'm sure Ross will love this, but contact him and maybe he can add one to your webpage. Okay.
Hey, Danielle, I'd like to say something if I could.
Yes.
I just wanted to say to you guys, this was awesome. I learned so much about listening to each and every presenter today. And thanks to Joy for putting this together. I'm looking forward to more of these. It's just great to work with a team of people that know how to make things happen and put things together. And I know this is difficult for us to get through this process of working from home and trying to remember to put our things first. I feel like everyone has really, rise to the challenge and been able to keep things moving. That's what I love about student affairs people. They just know how to make things happen. We just, I'm proud to be in a profession like this, and I'm glad to have the responsibility of trying to lead this division and give you guys what little bit of experience and knowledge I have. But thanks to you for participating today. Thank you guys for all your hard work and the work you continue to do. And I look forward to more of these meetings. Good job, Danielle. See, you put yourself out there. I'm going to give you some more tasks. That's really good.
Thanks, Danielle. You did awesome.
Have a great rest of the day. I have, unfortunately, another web meeting I got to jump into, so I'm going to jump off. But I just want to say publicly, thank you to guys.
Before I lose everyone, if you have any ideas on any future topics, please email me. My email is on this slideshow. And please join us again next week, April 21st. Next week's topic is supporting the mental health of students and staff. So you can find all of this information on the Division of Student Experience webpage. And if you have any questions, please email myself or Joy. And again, thank you for participating and have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Danielle.
Awesome.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.